What's good, YouTube? This is Killstarter TCG here coming at you with a different way to play Despia. This is a 60-card Despia branded Bystial tier deck, and it's a deck that I think has a lot of good synergy with every single engine. And just through playing through like multiple tournaments, the deck is extremely consistent out of possibly 20 rounds, each lasting 2 to 3 games each. I've only had a grand total of 3 dead hands. The deck is insanely consistent. I think it's very fun in general. And yeah, without further ado, let's get on to the profile. So for starters, with the Albaz package, we start off with 2 Albaz. I think 3 in the deck as is just too much. 2 is the right number for me in all honesty, because I like the philosophy of sometimes you want to see it, but sometimes you don't want to see it. Albaz being one of those cards. Right, then we got 1 Albion, and 1 Cartesia. Cartesia itself, I think, is very good. Definitely post-Photon Hypernova is going to be a mainstay in the deck, because Cartesia will always be live. Because sometimes in situations where you do have Cartesia, but you don't have any valid targets at that point in time. So, with that, I think this can definitely be cut for either a Kit or Mercurier, or just another non-engine piece that you might want. Alright. Then we have for the Despia engine, 2 Luber, 2 Tragedy, and 1 Dramaturge. Now, my thought process behind this is, with the Dramaturge, it definitely is a very good card. And the reasoning for no adlib is there have been multiple times where I have an adlib in hand and either a good tier name, but I'd much rather have something like Tragedy. So it used to be 2 Luber, 1 Tragedy, 1 adlib, and 1 Dramaturge. But the Dramaturge could definitely be another adlib. It's just there's been many scenarios where I'd much rather prefer having a Dramaturge rather than an adlib recycle. So that's, to me, this package has been very well consistent and hasn't really failed me yet. Alright, now that's it for the Albaz Despia package. Now we're going to go on into the Bystial engine. So starting up, we have the best Bystial card, Bystial Rebellion, which is overall very great. Alright, next, 3 Magnum Mode. Because, you have a lot of dragons in the deck that you want to add, like either your other Bystials or your Albaz stuff. And just Magnum Mode in general is just a very good card. Next up is 2 Saronir. Now, ideally, if this was any other deck, I'd want to just cut the 1 Saronir. But because it has some great synergy with Albaz in general, you do want to increase your chances of seeing Saronir, but not have too many Bystials. Because what the deck doesn't really do well with multiple Bystials is it doesn't have good opportunities to utilize them in terms of either rank 6 plays, in terms of link plays. But for the most part, I like this package as well as the 2 Jewels Room. So for the most part, I haven't seen too much failure with too many Bystials or too little Bystials. This to me is the right ratio. Because 2 Jewels Room, 2 Saronir, Triple Magnum, and 2 Rebellion, like these are all cards you do want to see. Jewels Room being, in my opinion, like going first or second, definitely one of the better options. But it's a low priority. I'd much rather see a Saronir or Magnum. That way I can get to my engine a lot faster. Alright. Next up, we have for the tier engine. Now, it's a little different for the most part. Like, for starters, I have 2 Mary, 2 Reinhardt. Now, every now and then, I do wish, like, the second Reinhardt could definitely just be the 3rd Mary. That way, I just have more chances of seeing names. But overall, this engine right here, because you have so many normal summons in the deck, I don't want to have too many cards that too many normal summons in the deck. I mean, Reinhardt is definitely the better normal summon with certain hands, but sometimes you do want to have like your Luber as well. So like I just want to limit how many normal summons I have. And yeah. So going on, we have triple Shaylin and triple Hobby. Shaylin obviously has like a lot of great synergy with some of your Bystial engines, some of your Despia engine, and Hobby is just like a great hand trap in general, because of course being able to fusion summon on your opponent's turn, or even just forcing out any form of interruption with this is always a great time. So like the tier package in general, I haven't seen too much failure with it as well. like a lot. Of course, a lot of this is my personal take, and just from over 20 different matches with deck through multiple tournaments, it's very consistent in my opinion. Could be better, possibly. In the right hands of a better player, a better deck builder, definitely. Am I them? I could be. All right. So that's it for the for most of the main part of the deck. Now continue on the monsters. So I have triple King of the Swamp, and of course I run Poly. But the thought process behind King of the Swamp is it's a great way to tutor into any one of the names that you're probably missing, or just has good synergy with your tier engine. And then this one grapha is so you'll see later on in the video, but the one grapha itself is just so I can have a way to get into grapha, or if I open something like Shaylin grapha, or just any other way to get grapha into the graveyard, it's a good board clearer. But yeah, so that's it for the monsters. Going on with the spells, starting off with the branded variation of the brand portion of the spells, we have 2 high spirits, triple opening, triple fusion, and 1 red, regain, and lost. So this, of course, these are the heart and soul deck. You always want to have your brand fusion or your opening to get into the brand fusion. Your high spirits is almost never really dead. There are a couple targets that you are missing, like your spellcaster for the Cartesia, or your warrior for the Adlib, and your fairies, of course. But other than that, brand high spirits in general, just having great synergy with the tier engine as well, definitely does help benefit the deck a lot. And then the one lost, of course, lost fusion, one of the best combinations the deck can have. And of course, because we're running Lebellion, Branded Regain is a great way of recycling your resources for either your Despias or your Despias, any one of your dark cards or your bonus cards to gain advantage. And the one red, I think going forward with the deck, the one branded red definitely has a lot to be desired, but it's just a card that to me isn't as important as it used to be back in the format, because of course when Despia was pretty popular, you wanted like your triple red, your triple fusion, but because the deck has slimmed down so much, sometimes it's not live all the time, so that's why I don't really want to always draw it. It's something I want to either search with the Lubu if I would have Brand Fusion, or it's something I want to just set. Continuing on with the spells, for like what I call the tier portion, we have the 1 instant fusion, the 1 scream, 1 terraforming, and a triple planet. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. Scream itself being that type of card where it can, it could be good. Just having Scream and any sort of tier normal summon will be able to clear any board or make you guys stronger by a decent margin. Or you just mill it, you get any one of the traps. So it's definitely a good one of. I definitely see it as that type of card where it's good as is. Do you need it all the time? No. So that's why it's at one of. Of course, Institution Terraforming, definitely good staples. Because having Institution with going into Kit Kalos automatically, it does bait out a lot of negates. And Planet's just Planet. It's pretty self-explanatory at this point. Alright, continuing on with like the non-engine cards I want to say. The one Poly for King Swamp, obviously, because sometimes you do just want to go into Poly, King Swamp, ditch, add Poly. I don't really like the Fright for engine in this deck, just because there's not enough space to fit it in. Plus, I don't want to overcommit into an engine that I probably won't be able to have great utilization with. One Foolish, just because it's a good way. It's a semi-starter, basically. It's a way to get into Tragedy. It's a way to get into just activate your tiers without having to use any monster effects in the beginning. Or you can just Foolish it for Grapha or King of Swamp, and then you have access to a lot more fusions. This I'm teching in Dark World Session. It has come up where it's a way to play around your Lubellion or even your Albion being targeted with like Veiler Imperm. So a Luber and Ascension is definitely a way to guarantee you have a way to get into your Mirror Jade and a Masquerade automatically. And plus, it's just a decent tech. The discard effect in Graveyard doesn't come up too often just because I do run the one Dark World. But overall, I think this is a decent tech. You don't necessarily need it all the time, so sometimes I just side it out. Same thing with Foolish Burial. So like going second, going first, like you don't necessarily need these cards because you do want to see other things. And then the last of the spells, I'm trying this out, fusion deployment, triple fusion deployment. So the thought process is it's good going first because you're able to get into your Grapha, Albaz, and your Reinhardt. It's both a starter and a way for going second. You just activate fusion deployment, special Albaz, force out any sort of interruption, and then you can play from there. But sometimes I do wish this was something like a Talents or even Abat or even Droplets. Because as you can see, like there's no real going second cards in the deck other than the Bystial engine. But overall, like this is something I'm trying out. And it's decent for the most part, but other than that, I'm not too sold on it. So yeah, going forward, this might be either Droplets or Talents. All right. And then continuing on with the traps, you have just the one Solic, one Crime, basic for any tier lineup. Because the Solic and Crime, like they can come up every now and then, but for the most part, like with how big the deck is, I don't have enough space to go like 2 Solic, 2 Crime, and vice versa. So this, I think, is like a decent ratio. And then going on, we have the one Beast for Lebellion, or just in general synergy with your Albaz engine. The one Retribution, just because Retribution is very good, it has a great combination with Brand High Spirits and Saronir. You're able to automatically get, using this to automatically get Brand Fusion. And then you have Brand Banishment, which is just a great super poly target, and going against tier, just being able to activate Brand Banishment, special any one of your fusions or your Despias, and then using your opponent's Kit Callus and tier is very great. Right, but that's it for the main deck. 60 cards. It's oddly enough, it's like I said, it's very consistent. I haven't really had any issues with it breaking a ton. Like I said, probably about 3 total games where I brick. But even then, sometimes I did come out on top. Moving on to the extra deck. I've been toying around with the ratios a lot, and some of it's finalized, some of it's not. So for like the Albaz engine, you have the one Albion, one Lebellion, one Mirror Jade, one Lenatus, and one Titanic Dad. Titanic Dad is that card where I think it's definitely, there's like the one flex spot. It could be either the second Lebellion or the second Albion, depending on certain scenarios. But just being another target for Mirror Jade, that way you're not forced to dump either your Lebellion or your Albion too early, is definitely pretty good, because you're able to get your Albaz. But other than that, it's a decent, it can also be a decent Albaz target or Super Poly target, just because it's any 2500 attack monster, so it can get you to include something like M-Pen or just any extra monster that isn't light or dark. For the tier stuff, we just have one Collider Heart, one Rule Callus, and one Kit Callus. Pretty standard. The engine, the extra deck itself, I think this right here is good enough. Like, this is really all you need for the tiers. You don't need too much. And going on, for the Despias, we just have a 2 Masquerade, because Quarters I find in a Despia, in a Shizu tier match, Quarters I find just doesn't come up too often. Plus, the deck is very insane. It can end on a double Mask, Rukalis, Mirror Jade quite frequently, given the hand. But yeah, being able to force your opponent to pay either 6 to 1200 per action is very great. And then, like, of course, you have the one Grapha. The Grapha itself is a nice inclusion, because I think it gives the Despia deck a decent Omni Negate, in a sense, because Grapha, for those who don't know, basically, if your opponent activates a normal spell or trap, or any monster effect, What it does is it doesn't negate the effect, but it changes the effect itself into your opponent discards 1, your opponent being you, of course. So if you have Grapha in any tier, you're able to go do any one of your fusion plays, basically. And then finishing off the extra deck, we have, of course, 1 Chimera, 1 Mud Dragon, 1 Garura, and 1 Dragon Spelia. So overall, like, this is all pretty standard. I think the one card you might want to consider cutting would be the Titaniclad and maybe the Mud Dragon, because there are certain times where the Mud Dragon just doesn't come up, and you wish it was something else, like either in certain cases like a second Dragon Spelia, or just a second Albion or Libellion, because sometimes you do both of those really quick. But yeah, that's the deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you do, leave me some comments, some likes, whatever you want to do to show that form of gratitude. And if you want to see some test hands, I do have another video coming up that just will show like all the test hands the deck can offer. So yeah, that's Starter TCG out.